Welcome to the Parts and Labor Podcast, the podcast that explores strategies, systems, and stories that drive salon success. I'm Alicia, founder and CEO of Salon Scale.
And I'm Whitney, head of sales here at Salon Scale. Welcome to the Parts and Labor Podcast.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Parts and Labor Podcast. I'm Alicia, and on today's podcast, we got a special guest here. We've got Erin from Qnity. And so without further ado, I'd love to kick it off to you, Erin, if you can just say hello, welcome, and a little bit about yourself.
Yes, hello. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited about this partnership, Alicia, that you and I have been talking about kind of for years. And it's really amazing that we've started to collaborate and, most importantly, do more of what we do, which is helping to level up the beauty and wellness industry. So whether it's salons with employees, whether it's solo providers, or whether it's students, we really serve them all. And so in my role, I am president of the Qnity Inc. companies. And, sometimes I say that and people just assume we're like quite large, but we are also a small family owned and operated business. And we really started, I think it's now over 15 years. I think you get to a point where like time just disappears, So when I say that, I'm like, what? But really how we got started, and I think it's really important, is again, we're family owned and operated. So my father, our CEO, was a former finance guy. So CFO, CPA, tax professional, and then moved into very rapidly owner and president of an 8-location salon spa group with about 400 employees, and very quickly saw the gaps, right? Saw the confusion around finance, saw the confusion around money, and he saw nothing but opportunity. But he saw so much pain actually and suffering around this topic of money that not only were peer salon owners facing, but most importantly in his role was his staff, right? So not only was he seeing his staff struggle, but them not doing certain behaviors that he think, that would enable them to make more money, save more money, et cetera. But then also how that impacted the bottom line for him as a business owner with 8 locations and 400 people on payroll, right? And so that was really how we started. And that's our legacy division, which is Qnity for salon spas and med spas. So we really work with owners and leaders, and the areas that we really focus on are driving sales growth, improving profitability, and giving better systems to execute and grow. And we also do a lot of work on succession planning to help businesses properly transition, right? So that's one division. Then we also have Qnity for schools. So we're in about 200 trade schools across North America, teaching a very robust financial literacy curriculum. I'm really proud of what we do on that industry because we're really trying to shape the next generation. We are in the US and Canada. And for our Canadian friends, they might not be as privy to some of the challenges that the US is seeing policy-wise. And so we present regularly to the US Department of Education, really through data to advocate what is possible financially for a career in beauty and wellness. So we have a ton of data that we do in-house through our Qnity Institute arm, which is not a separate business, but it is a separate division where we do data work on the industry. And then lastly, which is an area that we're partnering with you on, and it's our newest division, which I'm so excited about, is Solo by Qnity. And this was something that we wanted to do for a long time, and we didn't necessarily know how to do it because, frankly, we do believe that not everybody should be solo, right? We come from the place of employee-owned businesses with staff, and so there's a lot of empathy that we see with these owners trying to retain and keep and grow staff, and this kind of myth and the for lack of a better word, the sexiness of going solo and being alone, and it's not easy, and so we wanted to make sure for solos that they want to be solo. They have a hunger and a desire. We want to make sure that we can serve them. And so because of your generous support and partnership, we are able to provide a turnkey financial literacy program for all solos to access. It is totally free. It's in partnership with yourself, with Square, and with ASCP, AMBP. I'm blanking on a couple of their associations, but it's the Professional Assist Corporation group. And so we're really, really excited. And then we also have a premium feature where solos can meet with us every single week to get literal coaching and work through their businesses and challenges to grow their money in and also better manage their money out. And I have to share one story with that because I'm so excited. Jacqueline from that program, she's one of our premium users. If you go on the Solo channel, you can hear her speak about it. but she did the program because we just did a soft launch of that last year and or at last quarter. And for the first time in her life, she has over $5,000 in her savings account. She said she has never had money in her savings account, and she grew her total sales by $1,000 a week. So if you annualize that, not even no more, if there was no more growth, that's an additional $50,000 in total sales. That is like life changing for a solo, right? And so, and it was her that did it, right? I'm not, but we're providing the safe space and the curriculum. And so, the industry, there's a lot of people that are solo for a variety of reasons. And so we're really, really honored and happy to provide that. So, that was a lot of talking. So I'm going to stop, but that's a little bit of background.
No, I mean, like everything, it's you can hear the passion that comes through, and
Yeah.
every great kind of company that comes from the wanting to serve, wanting to help. You can definitely tell that that's
Mhm.
definitely very aligned with Qnity and all the things that you offer. And
Yeah.
riffing off that, like talking about these programs, and I always find that like no matter what, whether it's taking programs with you or even salon scale, like the big thing I find is that like kind of fear of getting started or just getting started and getting out of your
Mhm.
own way. So I feel like that would be a good thing for us to talk about is, if we had listeners listening right now, what do you think, what would you tell them to jump in? Like, how would you tell them to kind of, say yes and take a chance to learn some things?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, on the solo side, it's totally free, right? So like there's no reason not to take the plunge. You just go to solobyqnity.com and just get it for free. There's tons of videos. And I think, the reality is, and also with tech too, right? Like change is scary. Also, we're working with people who are creative, visual, intuitive, learn by doing, and kind of the tech and also the finance side is like, it's not, first of all, for most people, unless you say otherwise, it's not necessarily the fun part of it, right? It's the hard part, and it causes you to exert different muscles, and it causes you to examine maybe behaviors and choices that you've made that, when it comes to finance, there might be a hole to get out of, right? And a saying that I really like to look to use that Tom, our CEO, always uses, but it's not, I think it's actually from I think it's from AA, ironically, when we were looking at the source. I don't remember who this quote was attributed to, but it's all progress starts when you tell the truth. And the reality is when it comes to money and finance, there is a truth and there is facts. And whether or not you like what you see in terms of the behaviors, or most of them I find are just avoiding it. So they don't really know what to see. But part of the barrier is just like, look at it. And if you want to change, I mean, it's possible and it is doable, and people are doing it every single day, but it really does take attention. And it also takes trusted support. And like, I also feel, especially specifically on our business division where we're working with owners with teams, especially owners of smaller operations, like, and I would say solo too, there is this embarrassment and shame that comes. And it's almost like I've been on calls. It's so interesting. And I actually had a makeup artist the other day and I got her and I'm like, you need this program because she told me her financial situation. And she was like, I'm like so embarrassed, but like, I've never told anyone this. And I'm like, but you don't have to be because it's the norm, you know? So just like take the shame away so you don't have to stay stuck and get resources. And there's tons of free resources, right? If you don't want to work with us on the finance side, at least start your education. I have a totally free podcast called Money O2. We have a totally free podcast called Solo Diaries. Like, listen to those. Also, go on YouTube. There's a million free resources. There's really there's no good reason to stay stuck anymore. There's just not.
Well, and I always say, like, don't talk yourself out of this. Like, this is not like it's like
Mhm.
not like you're getting ready for a date, right? Like, it's not like you have to put your best self forward.
Right.
Come as you are, because I think
Yeah.
that the ones that end up, coming in, yeah, it's overwhelming because you're trying to, present yourself in the best light possible. That's what we do every day. So I
Hmm.
find that like when you kind of step back and you start to realize that like that doesn't matter, and again your truth is what matters. Like we are here to like connect with you on that. We're here to connect through the chaos and the pain
Yeah.
and make sense of it with you. And also too, that's another great thing about our partnership and as companies, aligned companies, is that we have been there. So a lot of our teams and the people you work with are exactly in those positions that you're kind of facing right now. And that
Right.
that gives you a little bit more of a connection with those that are going, like, that are right in the heart of it and going through, these moments. But
Totally.
even with the story that, you just said, the success stories, like, that's worth the fight when you get to hear
Mhm.
exactly all this work, all the stuff that we're putting out there to kind of help you. It's such a great reward to see those results at the end of the day.
Totally, totally. And I mean, I think there's something to be said about when you're your own boss specifically. Um, it's lonely at the top, and sometimes you need a boss of yourself, so you need someone to help hold you accountable because that's why, I mean, I think there's this glamour around like coaching and things like that. Like everybody's a coach these days, so I am like a little bit protective because we really try to make sure like we have some serious parameters before somebody can be a coach with us. And there's a lot of people that don't. But that being said, there's a reason why coaches are exceptional is because they can help people see things that they didn't know were possible, right? And get out of their own way. And, so much of what we see is around the limiting stories and traps that people have grown up with around money, right? And so sometimes somebody needs to be like, by the way, that's noise, right? Like that's not real. That's your own story. That's your own noise. So let's clear it. Um, and then it can help create massive, massive change. So
Oh,
it's
absolutely. I
exciting.
always, like, if you look at any like professional athlete, or like, you look at anything, like, they have a coach. There's always someone that's analyzing
Hmm.
that and taking care of you while you're in
Yeah,
the thick of, while you're in the game, while you're in, focusing on the win or the opportunity that's in front of you. And so I always
totally.
find that interesting in how, there's such a, I'm running this business, but you don't have to run it blind, or you don't have to run it alone. You have people that are there that can help you and guide you to these kinds of solutions. And I always find that, like, a lot of the times it's always the two things. It's the avoiding, it's always the worry of, do, like, I want to come prepared for it. And then the second one is money. And so, like,
Mhm.
that's why when we look at our partnership, especially with Qnity for solo and having free opportunity, it's like the best way to get started was like yesterday. Just get the free content and go ahead and look through it, because it's super impactful. And
Mhm.
I mean, that's a great opportunity.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
It's like it's a muscle and it's vocabulary. And so just start getting more comfortable with it. And it takes time, but you can really make some meaningful change. And so I really hope people take advantage and just go in there for free and explore and learn and grow. And we'll be right there alongside of you.
Yeah, I mean, looking through it, I mean, we got to see a sneak peek of it as it was kind of going out, and then
Mhm.
also be included in some of the programming. But you can see that you've put a lot of effort into making it easy to digest and easy to understand, where you're not just opening up something that is, downloadable, or you're watching, 4 hour long video that you can't keep. It's very well executed. So I'm like, congrats on that, by the way. I think you guys did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, and thank you for believing in it. It just also talking about alignment of companies, you can really, you know, you initially were like, the industry needs this. We're ready to support, we're ready to partner. And so I'm just super grateful for Salon Scale for you guys seeing what's needed. And I know, we do the same thing in many ways, right? You're just providing the tech around it and you're providing a platform to take the lift off. And ultimately what we want is we want freedom. And financial freedom comes with putting some systems in place to get there. And I know you want freedom and to eliminate the effort and the lift, and you're doing it through tech to help save money and also drive real growth for these businesses. And so it was a very easy decision, and I'm really grateful to you.
That's awesome. Like, we're super excited here as well. And one of the things too is, like, jumping over to us getting to meet for the first time, because we got to meet for the first
Hmm.
time in person at
Hmm.
event there. And it was so great to watch you. And one of the highlights every time I get to, like, hear you and listen to you is, like, I think we relate a lot, especially on the data side, is like we can get a
Yeah.
little, like, it's just exciting to get more facts that instead of just assumptions or theories. It's aligning on that data. And so I'd love to kind of ask you about that kind of thing. Like, what about the data is, drives you, excites you? What is something that you'd love to share with everyone that you've discovered along some of the things you've looked into?
Yeah, I mean, I think I love to get the data, but the process of getting data, as you know, is like really, really challenging, especially in this industry. It's just comparative to other industry. This is the beauty and wellness industry has just very poor data. It just really does. And so we've sought to change that. And three of our studies was specifically around how much does the average hairdresser in the United States make, right? So we did two studies with those who are, and we could only do those who are employees, right? Because solopreneurs are kind of a different ball game as far as taxation without getting into the bore of it in terms of like how to actually get that research. And so two studies on those working in salons with between 1 to 10 locations. And then we also did all the major chains. And the average earnings are um, so much more compelling. I mean, I have to pull up the number, but I think at least on the 1 to 10 division, it's over $80,000 on average for someone if they just work a 40-hour work week, right? But they're much lower because the average hairdresser is working between 24 and 27 hours a week, right? And so I think that's really interesting because people say they want to make more money, but it's like there's a couple ways to do that, right? Main one is to increase your hours to a standard work week, which, by the way, if you don't want to work that, then you need to put some parameters in play to be able to do more in the time that you can. So I think that's one thing. And also just the ROI, right? Like it is such a different ROI in terms of education compared to other fields. As far as someone going to a traditional college or going to grad school, like you can be out making money fast comparative to your peers, but it does take time, right? Like you're not just going to get out of school and start making money instantly. There is going to be years of struggle. And by the way, that's literally any career. You don't just, unless you're in like investment banking or going to work for private equity, like I don't really know many careers where you just graduate and start making a solid income. And it's even harder these days, by the way, just because of the way the economy is going. So I think that's really exciting. And I think it's really exciting to prove because I think people say things, but we can actually prove that this is a very compelling career path. And I think that can change the narrative because in my work with schools specifically, we hear so much shame and judgment and like, oh, it's not a real career. You're never going to make money. I'm sure everybody has heard that. And it's just not what the data says.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think and by the way, our data is not just opinion. There's a lot of people who go do surveys and things like this. This is verifiable studies with W-2s, which is tax documentation. So what is actually reported to the government. So if anything, the earnings could be slightly lower. Most of them actually have tips included because these are sophisticated businesses and cash tips are included. Um, so it's verifiable. It's been audited by two PhDs at the University of Texas, Austin campus, and also a CPA firm. So like this is legitimate data that stands the test of time. And I'm super proud of our team for that. And I think it's really important that this industry, and I hate to say this because there are some people that do operate like a business and more like a serious business, but this is serious business, right? Like this is a legitimate career path and you can make a legitimate business, but you have to do the things like a traditional business does. And I know also you've been you are a small business owner and I am too. And it's not easy to do those things when you're a small business owner because resources are slim, both human and financial. And um, but you can get there, right? And if you're a business of one, I think really recognizing you can make a great quality of life and income, but it's actually harder because you don't have anyone else that you can outsource to, and you don't have the ability to, an entrepreneur grows with a team where it's eventually the work is going to be passed on to someone else to do the services and you're going to build, right? Which also is incredibly challenging. But solo, you truly are a business of one. So I think making sure that they are truly set up, and from what I see, most are not. The majority in our focus groups with solos, most of them have $0 in savings. Um, Almost all of them didn't have retirement set up, and these are people who've been in the industry for over 10 years. Like this is not just people right out of school. So I'm I'm encouraged and I'm excited, and I want to give people a simple path without judgment to get there.
Yeah. I even, from the things I've kind of seen too, it's, most of the times it's jumping really quickly, leaving that commission salon. It's almost like escaping, and then it's
Right.
now you're here and you get that instant gratification. Now you have your instant place and your clientele's coming there. But then, those years come and you're still living in the day to day instead of, well, how long am I going to do this for? What are my next steps? Or, thinking about, what is the opportunity? How long do I want to do this for? And so a lot of
Yeah.
those kind of questions, and then, how can I sustain myself? What can I do to set up systems so I don't have to necessarily work harder, but I can work a little smarter and keep a little bit more cash
Mhm.
for myself. And so
Yeah.
that's where I think the alignment, especially with us, is just giving as much resources and tools to give yourself permission to really learn and earn as much as you possibly can.
Totally agree. Totally
Yeah.
agree.
So before we end things today, I want to come back to you, and I want to come back to you and your father being starting Qnity, but you yourself, what keeps you going? What makes you so excited about what you do every day?
I mean, so something right now that really gets me going, and I think, I have been under extreme financial pressure. Okay. So like let me just say that there. I have not been immune to that. And I know the feeling. And I want no one to feel that. Like there's too much in life that you have to stress about, and money just should not be one of them. And so very, very specifically right now, I mean, what gets me going is when we see people get that freedom, when we see people have the lift of lack of financial stress and worry. And I think something that really moves me, especially when it comes to women, especially now that I'm a new mother, and like that pressure I had before, I frankly can't imagine having that with a child. And I know most people do have it. Statistically, most people wonder, can I put gas in my car, or can I pay for groceries, right? And let alone just like give your children experiences that you want to give them. And I want that for everyone. And I feel, you know, specifically with the next generation, they have different ladders to climb, especially in the States right now. I'm not sure specifically around our Canada folks on what's happening with the economy. I'm not as privy to that, but it is very, very challenging right now. It is hard, and so I think it's funny. I just talked about it's a holiday here, and so I have a nanny here helping us, and she's in school and she's Gen Z, and I always am like talking about what they're feeling around money, and it's just this sense of like there's no way to get ahead, and so if we can give people at all generations the tools to get ahead now and do certain things, I don't believe it is a nice to have. I believe it's absolutely essential. And so I just want to make it available to as many people as possible.
That's amazing. Well, honestly, thank you so much for your time today, but thank you so much for what you do for the industry and who you are and everything that you've put together. And if people want to, get access to the free opportunity that we just kind of
Yeah.
talked about, or just get in touch, maybe they are more of a commission-based salon listening to this, or maybe, how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, of course. So if you're a solo, we'll start there because that's where the major partnership is right now on our end. It's just solobyqnity.com. So if you go there and you just scroll down on the web page, just hit join freemium. You literally just enter your email and you'll get access to all of the education. So that is super exciting. There's tons of videos on how to increase your income, the importance of taxes, and all the things around taxes, and getting out of debt. So there's just a fully organized curriculum there that is literally built by and vetted by our team, and also with our background in finance, specifically Tom's is a CFO. And then that will be kind of a great entry point for you. And then we'll follow up there if you want more information. But if you are also a commission salon, the best place to go is just qnity.com. So Qnity, people always put a U, .com. And that will give you resources to connect with us. We do a ton on our business side to support owners and their teams. So that would be the best way to connect with us that way.
That's amazing. Well, again, I will make sure there's links all in the show notes. So anywhere that you are wanting to get access, whether it's Qnity, whether it's Salon Scale, you'll always get access to that. And again, Erin, thank you so much for being on today's podcast. As always, looking forward to seeing each and every one of you on the next episode of the Parts and Labor podcast. Head to salonscale.com and go ahead and connect with us there. Thank you.